Hey guys, welcome to Jazz Piano Daily number 127. Now in these next three lessons, I'm going to show you how to easily create any chord at the piano. It's going to be a three-part series. You'll notice that this is probably going to be pretty simple for many of you. Some of you might find it a little bit challenging. I'm not going to hide the virtual keyboard or the sheet music on these three lessons because it's really important for everyone to learn this stuff, so I'm just putting it all out there for you. All right, so let's get started. Let's take a look at the sheet music, and of course to download the sheet music, you can go right on to jazzpianodaily.com as a member and download all of the resources, charts, and all that good stuff. Okay, so when you're forming a chord, there's a couple of different ways of forming chords, and I'm going to show that to you right now. First of all, let's just start with major and minor triads, okay? Now, an easy way of forming any triad is start on any note. So let's just start on, let's say, the note C here, okay? So I'm going to be on the note C, and then what I do is I count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. So 4 and 3. That creates a major triad. Typically, I'd play that 1, 3, and 5, or 1, 2, and 4 would be the fingering that I would use, okay? Let's say I want to do it on a different chord. Let's say G. Start on a note, count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. Now I have my G major triad. Remember, when I am counting up, I am counting up by half steps. Just a quick reminder, a half step is when you go to the very next note, up or down. So this is a half step, that's a half step, that's a half step, that's a half step. This is not a half step, that is not a half step, that is not a half step, okay? So when you have no note in between, that's a half step. When you take two half steps and you put them together, that creates a whole step. Another way of looking at that is you have one note in between, okay? There to there, that's a whole step, one note in between. There to there, that's a whole step, one note in between. All right, half steps and whole steps. All right, so when I count up, I'm counting up 4 half steps and then 3 half steps. That creates a major triad. This is my root, my third, and my fifth. To make it minor, I would flat this third and make it go down a half step. That's C minor. Okay, let's try one more. Let's try B. That's a little bit more difficult usually. Start on a note, count up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3. Play them all in the same hand. There's your B major triad. To make it minor, flat that third, and there's B minor. Okay, so now let's get into some more advanced chords, or let's get prepared to do some more advanced chords. And one way that we can build chords, especially seventh chords, is by building them off of our major scale. Now, before we can build them off the major scale, we obviously have to learn the major scale. So same kind of rules apply with this half steps and whole steps kind of stuff. We start on a note, start on any note, right? So if I start on a note C, then I go up a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, another whole step, and a half step. That creates all of these notes. And you see here that I also put in the fingering for you down here, okay? So I wrote in the fingering for you. So it's a 1, 2, 3, cross under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's your C major scale. All right, so let's break this down and talk about what this is here. Let's see, we'll blow this up just a little bit more here. Okay, so from the C to the D, that's a whole step. And we say W, right? From the D to the E, that's a whole step. From the E to the F, that's a half step. From the F to the G, that's a whole step. Oops, let me fix that. From the G to the A, that is also a whole step. From the A to the B, that's a whole step. And then finally from the B to the C, what is that? That is a half step, okay? So start on any note, go up a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now this pattern, if you want to write this down, is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. But remember, you need to start on a note. And I usually put an S here first. You have to start on a note. So often I've been working with students and I say, okay, form a major scale starting on A. And they'll be like, okay, whole step. I'm like, wait a second, it's not a whole step. You haven't gone anywhere, right? You start on the note, then you have to go someplace in order to make a whole step. There's your whole step. then another whole step, cross underneath, half step, whole, 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 half. Okay, so there's your A major scale. All right, so now I also wrote out this pattern at the bottom of the music here for you. So start on any note, then go up whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. All right? All right, so let's try doing it on another scale. Let's try the F major scale. Starting on F, go up a whole step, half step, cross under, whole, 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 half. Now this fingering right here might seem a little bit weird to you to play 4, right? So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, then cross underneath. Especially might seem weird when you have to come down and you're like going from your thumb down to your 4th finger. But trust me, you'll get used to it. You just have to practice it, okay? Let's try one more. Let's try the key of D, right? So D, if you want to pause the video and see if you could figure it out on your own, that would be good. Start on D, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now, as soon as you memorize this pattern, there's really no excuse for not knowing your major scales. Now, you know what? You can go ahead and write in the comments, but you're never going to convince me that you don't need to know your major scales. Okay, so don't even bother to try, because I will tell you, you always need to know your major scales. And I will also tell you that most students don't really know their major scales. And when I say know your major scales, I mean not just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I also say, okay, so how many flats are in the key of D? There's 2 flats, right? There's G flat, D flat. 2 sharps, right? F sharp and C sharp. How many flats are in the key of G? 1? No, F sharp. Okay, so that's still pretty easy. Okay, let's spell scales. Spell the E major scale. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. All right? Let's spell a different one. See if you can spell it faster than I can. Let's do B flat major. B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. Okay, so you need to be able to spell it that fast. But then the next level of that is, okay, so what's the 3rd in the key of C? E. What's the 3rd in F? A. 3rd in G? B. What's 13 in C? A. 13 in A flat? F. Sharp 9 in B. That would be C double sharp or D natural, all right? So you're really knowing not only your chord tones, but also your tensions. Why is all of that important? Well, as you will see in the next lesson, we start to utilize those scales to be able to form our chords, right? So that major scale we can use to form all of our chords. That major scale can also be used to form all of our modes and many of our other scales as well. They all kind of relate back to that C major scale. All of our diatonic harmony is all built off of that major scale as well. In addition to that, you'll never be able to improvise effectively if you don't know at least your major scale. So there's many, many reasons why you have to know that major scale. Is it boring to play them? Yep, you bet it is. But there are some interesting ways that you can make it more musical and make it more fun, right? So, and maybe down the road we'll talk about that. But for right now, you just got to learn the major scale. Learn the pattern. Now that you know the pattern from today's lesson, you should be able to form any major scale. Let's try one more. I'll do it quickly with you. A flat. So you can go ahead and pause the video, see if you can play it, and I'm going to show you all the notes. There you go. Right? There's A flat. What about G flat? Pause the video, see if you can figure it out, and here you go. There's G flat. What about E flat? Pause it. Here you go. E flat. And finally, what about D flat? Pause it. And here you go. D flat. So now you got just about every scale there. We went through pretty much all scales. There's E, there's G, there's B. Okay, so I think you got all of them now. If you pause the video, you should be able to see all of your scales. But having that pattern at hand, you'll be able to figure them all out. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. To get the first 45 pages of music for free, just go back to JazzPianoDaily.com. If you liked the video, please be sure to click the like button and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. To watch the rest of the lessons in this series, just click on the playlist to the right of this arrow. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.